Hello and welcome to the Patience to Prosperity podcast, where we learn how to act in opposition of our limiting beliefs in order to reach our fullest potential. Hey guys, welcome back to the pod, or welcome to the pod. Today is an exciting episode, as I say every single episode, because I honestly am just so grateful to be sitting on this mic and talking to you guys. I'm just feeling all the love lately. I'm just so grateful for you guys, so thank you for tuning in today. Just had to get that off my chest before diving into this concept that we are all too familiar with. The concept of procrastinating. Procrastination really stinks, because it's something that none of us want to do. We hate procrastinating. It's one of our least favorite things ever, I would argue. And it leaves us to feel like shit. It leaves us to feel so unaccomplished, so lazy, and it's just not something that we truly need to accomplish a task, which deems it unnecessary, which is why it makes us feel so lazy when we ultimately get faced with it. Because no matter what anyone says, no matter how much someone has their shit together, they procrastinate in their life. I don't care what they tell you. So I'm going to start off by kind of listing some reasons why we procrastinate, because have we even ever heard of any reasons why we procrastinate? I feel like it's just something that we do and we never talk about. So today I'm going to talk about it. So number one, a reason why we might procrastinate is because we don't actually enjoy the task at hand, or we're telling ourselves that it's something that we're not going to enjoy. So that's why we're putting it off. Because ultimately in life, we only want to do things that we enjoy. We only want to do things that are going to add something to our life in a positive light. So going and paying our bills is not something that we deem as joyful in our lives. So it's something that we're probably going to put off until we have a week to pay it off. Like, it's no surprise that procrastination is in our nature. It's no surprise, because as humans, we're always looking for some satisfaction, some dopamine hit, and that can't really be reached in the tasks that we see as taxing or unenjoyable. So it's no surprise that we are going to put things off when they don't feel good to us, or when we tell ourselves that they don't feel good to us before we even do them. But I'm here to tell you that when we do get that dopamine boost, when we do feel good, is when we accomplish a task that didn't feel so good, that we didn't necessarily want to do, but we got it done. That's when it feels so good. I think the struggle comes in when we finally get that task done after we procrastinate. Sometimes we still don't really feel good after we get the task done. We just feel like we checked something off of a to-do list. And that is something that I talked about in my episode last week about taking pride for your accomplishments. So go check that episode out if you need some tangible steps about taking pride for your accomplishments, if that's something that you struggle with, because I know I do. I think the two go hand in hand when talking about procrastination. So why is it that we're telling ourselves we're not going to enjoy this task? Is it because we're making it unenjoyable, or is it because the task itself is just something we don't necessarily want to do? This leads me to a tip that I have when enduring a task that you don't necessarily want to do, taking the example of paying your rent. Make it enjoyable. Play your favorite songs while you do it. Dance around your room while you do it. Cook your favorite meal after. Use that little reward system. Go out with your friends after. Maybe spend a little money on something that you want to do while you're spending money on something that you don't necessarily want to, but you have to because you need somewhere to live. You know what I mean? So that's just a little tip before we get into the other reasons why we procrastinate. But I think it's really important to note that everything is going to be unenjoyable if you make it unenjoyable. But things can be very enjoyable. It's just up to you to make that decision and to make it more enjoyable for yourself. So moving on. Second reason why I think that we procrastinate is because we see things as time. We look at things as a clock. We look at them as something that's going to take up a chunk of the time in our day that we already see as precious. We already tell ourselves, oh, there's not enough time in the day to do everything that we want to do. So time is a huge thing when covering the concept of procrastination, because we'll tell ourselves we don't have enough time to get something done, right? When we have this thing weighing on us for so long that we've been pushing away and doing other things instead. You tell yourself you don't have enough time to complete this task, then what I have to say to you is open that settings app and click on that screen time, and then tell me you don't have enough time to complete this task. Because I guarantee you spent at least 4 hours on TikTok today that you could have been spending completing that task, and I bet that task would take you probably a quarter of the time. That's also something to note. When we procrastinate, it doesn't necessarily mean it's something that is going to take us 3 hours to do. It might take us 5 minutes. Just going back to that first concept, it might just be something that we don't want to do, and that's why we're putting it off. If it takes less than 5 minutes to do, don't spend more than 5 minutes thinking about it. Just do it. Something that I use a lot when dealing with procrastination, and what has helped me the most, honestly, is doing something instantly. So when I come home from a 10-hour workday and I sit down and I get really lazy and I grab a snack and I let myself scroll on my phone, I'm not going to work out that day. Ultimately, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to get the motivation to work out because I just let myself sulk in my pity and my low energy that the workday has brought me. But when I come home and the first thing I do is throw on my workout clothes and head right to the gym or head right outside to go on a run or go on a walk, whatever I feel like doing that day, then I'm already moving before I'm thinking about it. So I'm not even giving myself the option of taking the other route of not doing anything. So that might be something to think about. I know that's kind of easier said than done, but at the same time, I think it's a little easier to just do something without thinking about it than to run yourself rampant by making 1,000 excuses before doing something. So going back to that timely manner, it's vital to ask yourself, is this something that I'm pushing off because it's going to take a lot of time or because I simply don't want to do it? And if it's something that is going to take a lot of time, then you're going to have to put it as a priority in your life. You're going to have to prioritize it in this current moment, because ultimately, you're not going to be able to even enjoy the other things that you are implementing into your life, like hanging out with your friends, like watching your favorite show at the end of the day, like doing your self-care that makes you feel good, or reading a book, or whatever it is. Those things are not going to make you feel good when in the back of your mind you have this lingering thought of the task that you still haven't done, that you know you need to do. So moving on, perfectionism is a way that we procrastinate because we tell ourselves that we need to do things a certain way or else we're not doing it right, or else it's not good enough, or else the outcome is not what we want it to be. We get so connected with perfecting this task that we put it off to the point where we don't even do it until we absolutely have to, and then we're rushing the outcome, then we're rushing everything that comes out of it, and then ultimately that leads us to not be able to take pride in the outcome because we rushed it and we didn't put our best foot forward. Which is why procrastination, it's one of the reasons why procrastination can be such a hindering point of growth, because we're not being truly present. We're not putting our best foot forward. We're not truly taking the time to do things. We're rushing the outcome because it's something that we don't want to do. But a lot of the times that we're procrastinating something, it's a task that actually can lead to our highest self. That is actually a pivotal point of our growth, and it's just something that we don't necessarily want to do because it's uncomfortable, or it's something that we haven't done before, or that we're not good at, or that we're just telling ourselves we're not good at, but we actually haven't even tried yet. Which leads me to my next point. Your fear of failure might be the reason why you're procrastinating. You are so incredibly scared of quote unquote failing that you're not even willing to put your best foot forward. You're just ultimately giving up on yourselves before you even start this task, before you even try to accomplish this task. You are so scared that you are not going to do this perfectly that you'd rather live in the guilt of not doing it at all. Because ultimately, procrastinating is creating so much guilt and shame within you because you know that you have the time to do it. You know that you have had the opportunity to accomplish this task and to get it over with, but you haven't yet. And that is going to make you run your mind rampant throughout your day, knowing that you have this lingering thought in the back of your head and you're not going to be able to take pride in it. So I'm here to tell you that the more you put off the task, the less time you have after it's done to ponder the outcome. Now, I note this because, like I mentioned in the beginning of this episode, my last episode had a lot to do with taking pride in your accomplishments. And when we rush the process, we are not likely to ponder the outcome. Because the outcome is something that we're most likely not really proud of because we know that we rushed the process. We're not really able to feel this sense of pride in the outcome because we were just so concerned with checking this off our to-do list and getting it over with that we don't even care. By the time that we get to the point where we actually put our pride aside and we just do whatever we're procrastinating, by the time that we get there, we don't even care what the outcome looks like anymore. We're just so concerned with getting it over with that the outcome doesn't even matter to us anymore. This creates an anxiety loop, which is my next reason why we procrastinate. Anxiety leads to procrastination, which leads to more anxiety, which creates this loop of anxiety, which thus leads to more procrastination. It's this loop of anxiety that we constantly go through that I know you're familiar with when I say this. And I think it's something that a lot of us go through, and maybe I'm the first to vocalize it in terms like that, but you are creating more anxiety by putting this task off than you would have if you just did the task when it was given to you the first time. Which is why I mentioned that tip of just doing something immediately. And if it doesn't take more than 5 minutes, then don't spend more than 5 minutes thinking about it. You know, we get so concerned with, oh, this is going to take so much of my time, but then for a second, maybe you have to think about the amount of time that you've actually spent just thinking about this task when you could have spent half that time just doing it in the first place. And I know that's easier said than done because of this anxiety loop that I'm talking about today. You are only creating more anxiety for yourself in your day-to-day life when you put tasks to the side that you know you should be prioritizing because you know that you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. So my next reason why we procrastinate is because when we've shown ourselves in the past that we can procrastinate and still get a task done before the due date, then we're conditioning our minds to continue this pattern. So how many times did you, when you were in school, did you procrastinate an assignment until the last hour that it was due? And then you tell yourself, oh, well, I did it, so when I have a task just like this due at midnight the next time, I can just do the same thing. And it won't even matter because I taught myself that I can do this task in an hour, so it doesn't even matter. Then you're just conditioning your mind to think this way, and then you're just putting your tasks on the back burner when you are living the rest of your life in a constant anxiety loop because you know you have things to do that you're not prioritizing, like I said. So just become aware with this thought. Every time this thought comes up where you tell yourself, oh, well, I've done it like this in the past, so I can do it like this again. Think about if it's worth it. Ask yourself if it's actually worth all of the anxiety and all of the spiraling thoughts that are going to come through from you putting this task aside and doing the things that are less important in your life. And that's not to say that you shouldn't be taking the time for yourself in your daily life by doing things that you don't necessarily need to do to reach the outcome or the task at hand that you were trying to accomplish. Self-regulating, self-soothing, all those things are things that are vital to our healing journey, that are vital to our day-to-day lives, that we shouldn't just brush under the rug, and that are so imperative to be able to have the energy and the capacity and the confidence to get the tasks done that we need to get done. Everything in life is about balance. We hear this all the time. You need to balance out the good with the bad. You need to balance out the hard tasks with the easy ones, and the ones that you want to do with the ones that you don't want to do. Everything's about balance. It really is. And I think that's an episode that I'm actually going to cover in this season. So stay tuned for that. Because balance is, I believe, one of the hardest things that we have tried to master as humans. Balance is incredibly hard because we don't even know what it is. We don't even know how much something weighs because everything is relative. What we think is so hard might be deemed easy to someone else, vice versa. So what is balance? It's so individualized to us that we don't even know when we have it. We don't even know when we feel balanced. But I think in my own way of putting things, when I feel the most balanced is when I am prioritizing the things that I know I need to get done, that I don't necessarily want to do, but I know I need to do. And I'm also making time for the things that make me feel good and that light a fire inside of me. Because that's what keeps it going. When I show myself that I'm showing up for myself and I'm doing the hard, uncomfortable things that I don't want to do, but I'm also doing the really fun things that I love to do, that's where that balance comes in. The last reason why I think we procrastinate is simply because of our fear of the unknown. We don't necessarily know that accomplishing this task is going to get us where we want to be. We don't necessarily know whether paying our rent this month is going to put us in debt or if it's going to hurt our bank accounts severely. And that's why we put it off. But newsflash, you're going to have to pay your rent today or tomorrow, and either day that you pay it, it's still going to drain the same amount of money from your bank account. So what's the point of putting it back a day and then stressing today about having to pay it tomorrow? There's no point. There's really no point. So this fear of the unknown often clouds our brain and makes us lead to this point of procrastinating because nothing is certain in life. Anything can happen, and maybe you paying your rent is scaring you because you have a lot of anxiety and you often over worry yourself with problems that aren't even happening in your life. So you're telling yourself that your dog is going to need to go to the vet this month, or you're going to need to spend more money on groceries, or you have 5 friends whose birthdays are this month and you need to go out of your way to spend money on their presents. And that's what's stressing you out ultimately about paying your rent this month, which is making you procrastinate it. I think it's really vital to note that you need to become aware of where it's stemming from, where this anxiety loop is stemming from in the first place, and why you're so anxious about the task at hand to begin with. Ask yourself why that is. And maybe it's one of the reasons that we mentioned today. So now I'm going to get into some tips for procrastinating. Some things that can help you with this constant loop of procrastinating. Number 1, the second you make the decision to do something, do it immediately. I'm not going to get too into this because I know that I mentioned it in the beginning of this episode, but the more time that you ponder on it, the less likely you are to actually get it done. So you're just going to talk yourself out of it if you give yourself more time to think about it. Just do the task at hand and get it over with, and then move on with your life. Number 2, make it as uncomfortable as possible so you have no choice but to do it. So this is actually the opposite of what I mentioned in the beginning. I told you make it as comfortable as possible while you're doing the task. So doing things like listening to music or watching your favorite show while you're doing it. But now I'm telling you, make it as uncomfortable as possible. So this is in the sense of if you are putting off cleaning your room, making your room as messy as possible, as hard to walk through as possible, as hard to look at as possible, so that you have no choice but to clean your damn room so that you can stop thinking about it. For example, put all your clothes on your bed so that you can't go to sleep at night. Even though if you're anything like me, you'll probably just throw your clothes off of your bed and crawl into your bed anyways. Moving on. Get a planner. Get a freaking planner. I cannot tell you how much a planner has changed my life. I literally put everything I need to do and more into my planner on a daily basis. I write down my daily tasks. I write down every assignment I have for school. I literally write down the time that I want to get done with the task. So I know that this is not how everyone's brain works, so take this with a grain of salt, but at least try getting a planner and see if it helps you, because that's not to say that everyone's way of using a planner is the same. You can completely customize it to make it your own. You can draw doodles in it that make you really happy, write quotes in it that make you really happy. You can just write one task a day. You can use it to just write appointments down. Whatever it is so individualized to you. No one is telling you exactly what to do, so make it your own. But do not knock it until you try it. A planner might just be what you need right now to help stop this anxiety loop and to help put your priorities into place. Number 4, make realistic lists. Don't just write down one big task for yourself. Instead, break it down to digestible steps. For example, if your task at hand is to make a slideshow presentation for work or for school, break those steps down on paper. Your first step might be researching your concept. Your second step might be making a bulleted list of all of the things that you found interesting while you were researching that you want to implement in your project. Your third step might be making your cover slide on your project. You see what I mean? When you make these steps so small, it's so much more approachable. It seems so much more attainable for you to accomplish this task because you can move piece by piece, day by day. You don't have to do it all at once. When you just tell yourself that you need to do this big task, then you're more likely to push it off and not do it at all because it seems so much harder. It seems like so much more effort. But if you just break it up into small little pieces, then you're going to see that once you just do the first step, then the second step seems more manageable, then the third step seems more manageable, and then by the time you know it, you've completed that task already. Moving on. Make a list of your overall priorities. Then make a list of things that you're actually prioritizing right now. And then see if you're living in alliance with who you want to be. I mentioned this in my episode of self-sabotage. So go check that episode out if you would like to, because I think there's a lot of really tangible tips in that episode that can help you with procrastinating as well. So going back to what I was saying, make a list of the things that you should be prioritizing right now in order to reach the goal that you want to reach. Then make a list of the things that you're actually prioritizing in your life and then compare the two. And then last but not least, Limit your distractions. So if your task is to clean your room, stop distracting yourself by throwing on your show or going to hang out with your friends and leaving your room all in all. Stop distracting yourself and just face your problems so you can get it over with and you can live your life and do the things that you genuinely want to do. Because when we're procrastinating, we're robbing ourselves of the beauty that comes in completing a task without pressure, mostly from time and anxiety in this case, which leads us to not put our best foot forward, and we often feel unfulfilled by the outcome instead of just feeling relieved that we got the task over with. Because when we have a task lingering in the back of our mind but choose to do something more quote-unquote relaxing, we can't actually relax. We can't actually relax because we're always thinking about it. You wait till the last minute to complete your task, and then the only work you have to show for yourself stems from the stressed, overwhelmed, frantic version of you. This is really important to note because this leaves you feeling a sense of unfulfillment, and you find it so hard to take pride in yourself because the only version of yourself you have to take pride in is from a place that you're not proud of to begin with. So that's what I'm going to leave you with today. I hope that you guys got something from today's episode. Please share this episode with someone else because I'm sure that we can all use a little bit of encouragement when it comes to procrastinating. And I hope that you can implement the tips that I gave you guys today into your life, and you can start to feel yourself procrastinate a little bit earlier and start to combat that with the tangible tips that I gave you guys today. And if not, maybe the reasons that I gave you that you might be procrastinating can just give you some reassurance and can help you moving forward understand yourself a little bit better, because ultimately that's what this whole podcast is about. It's just about understanding yourself a little bit better, because we were put here to understand ourselves, not to be understood. So that's all I have today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please rate and leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so that you can help me reach other like-minded people like you that want to grow and heal. And stay tuned for next episode. I'm loving this season of the mountains so much, and I think that I can really feel us all growing together, which is so beautiful. Shoot me a DM on Instagram at Patience to Prosperity. Go check out my TikTok for some words of encouragement and tips, just like the ones that you hear in this podcast. And stay tuned for next Monday's episode. All right, thank you guys so much. Remember, come as you are and leave better.